Tonight, Suede's beautiful one, Brett Anderson. The original Buffalo Gal, Nena Cherry. And Cast's leading light, Joh Power. Also performing live, the highly charged Electronic. Won't you forgive me? Hiya, I'm Jo Viley and welcome back to the first show in my brand new series. Each week I'll be serving up a fine selection of guests and offering an insight into the melodic avant-garde, all washed down with top video action and dynamic discourse, most of the time. Accepting my invitation this evening are Brett, hiya. Hello. And Nena. Hi. And John. Hello. So will Björk remain a leading light in the new millennium? Has the Verve's final split closed a chapter in the history of rock and roll? And will the highly acclaimed Mercury Rev be able to keep up speed? A show bursting at the seams over the next 45 minutes, but first, it's the news. Going back to the music versus art, Brett, first of all with you, do you think that they make uneasy bedfellows, or do music and art always go together?
I think they're really, really different things, actually. You know, I think people that kind of, you know, think that, you know, just because creative people can be creative in both fields, I don't think it's the same thing at all. It's like comparing sort of, you know, poetry and flower arranging or something like that. They're just different disciplines.
But it is something that you pay attention to, don't you, with Suede, with
well, I mean,
all your projects?
Yeah, but I mean, kind of like I'm quite on it when it comes to, you know, artwork and stuff. But that is a different thing. I don't ever consider, you know, like, I'd inject art into music, so I just don't think they're mixed, to be quite honest. I mean,
Nena, your mother's a painter and your stepfather was a musician, so music has always been in your family. Was there ever a choice for you? Could you have gone out and been a plumber or a...
Would have made a great plumber, probably.
You know, it's a career, it's an option.
Than a singer.
No, was it always, yeah, I was going to do music and that's it?
No, I mean, I think music and that whole thing, because it was around me the whole time, it was kind of like lullabies, do you know what I mean? Like when I hear my dad's music now, it makes me feel drowsy. But I think for me, it was like I mean, there was definitely a point in my life when I wanted to be straight.
So your kind of rebellion?
Like normal, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It took me a long time to kind of...
Did you actually do that? Did you say to your mum and...
Oh, I used to like want to beat my mother up, you know, literally with like the hairbrush, but she'd get me first. But you know, because she didn't, like, I mean, I lived in New York, but I also grew up predominantly, my home was in Sweden, and it was like out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And for a start, I was a different color to everybody, so that was like weird for me, and I had a flat nose, and so I'd kind of sit like this in class because I didn't want anyone to see it. I think what was cool about my parents was that they didn't kind of force anything on me, and I suppose I try and do the same thing with my kids, you know, it's like...
Yeah,
I'd like,
it's important not to impose your ideas on anyone.
What were your parents like then? Were they kind of trying to tell you what to do?
I think pretty odd, really, for the kind of upbringing. I kind of come from quite a poor background, but they weren't like, it wasn't a traditional sort of working class situation in my house. As in my mum was a painter, and my dad was into classical music and drove a taxi, you know, so it was quite an unusual situation. So all the kids who were around where we lived all thought we were a bunch of freaks, you know.
Did your parents ever try and force any kind of career path on you?
Well, the only thing they tried to force was, like, you know, get an education, which I totally rebelled against anyway, you know what I mean? So they just basically said, try to let me know the truth, you know, reality, which is like, you know, if you don't kind of get into something. They were always encouraging, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once I started music, they were like, you know, yeah. I mean, my dad, like, I can remember my dad sitting me down and playing rock and roll music by Lennon, like, you know, and just saying, listen to that voice, you know, and just trying to show me the difference between, say, you know, things that kind of touch you or touch me and obviously other people, like, you know, and say the equivalent of you know, the crap music.
We heard about Aqua doing this charity record. Do you feel it's kind of, do you get the kind of
you know,
guilt
people
thing,
are
like,
always cynical, saying, like, you know, even, like, let's go to the big one, Live Aid. You know, people say, you know, I've heard, like, people, like, slag it off in the past or whatever. But I think music does touch and reach people. And I know it doesn't change the world, or it can't change the world, but it's going to change the individual's perception of that world, which is all the only reality they've got, like, you know what I mean? So I think it can do something.
Being Live Aid,
oh yeah.
What effect did it have on you?
It was amazing, because it was all
who
like
who were the stars for you?
Well, I always remember Townsend, right, trying to stick his leg over the mic stand and falling flat on his arse, like.
I remember Bob Dylan bit. Do you remember Bob Dylan and what's his name from the Stones?
Keith Richards,
like, oh, they were like,
yeah. Well, the American one. By the time I got to America, I was a bit knackered by then, you know.
I know.
We tried to stay up for the whole, like, thingy.
Nana, you got your only UK #1 with a charity that you did with Cher and Chrissy Hynde.
And Chrissy Hynde,
What was that like, doing that?
It was brilliant, actually.
They're good characters.
Well, I know Chrissy from sort of a few years back, and I think she got asked to do it, and then she asked me to do it, and I was like, where am I going to fit in between them two? Like, how's it going to work out? It ended up being a really nice experience. I mean, I felt like a complete, like, you know, like I hadn't been around the block, halfway around the block.
Really?
Being around Cher and Chrissy, because they just started, like, telling us all these mad stories, and, you know.
They're coming round again, though, now. I mean, Cher's just had this
and I
amazing
mean,
success.
Cher is a really cool woman.
Is she?
No, we spent, like, you know, half a day talking about anal sex and, you know, just having a scream.
Next up, we're going to sneak an exclusive look at Björk's latest offering. Following on from the sensationally surreal Hunter, Björk has teamed up with the controversial filmmaker Chris Cunningham, the brains behind visual excursions with Madonna, Aphex Twin and Left Field. This is the future. All is full of love. Just spellbinding. Nana, did that affect you?
Yeah,
That video?
I think that's a very, very beautiful piece of film or video.
But it is more like a piece of film, isn't it? The
Yeah.
music kind of becomes
Yeah.
less relevant than watching the visuals.
It's like a great advert or something, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like the music feels like a really good score for an advert. and, like,
Yeah.
It is really beautiful and really stylish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's something
It's good.
really kind of gentle about it
Yeah,
as well, because
it's
someone said
really
to me,
good.
how, you know, it's just a bit sort of provocative, and she's sort of,
Real
she's being out
sex.
with herself, and, but it's just when I saw it, and I thought, God, that
It's
isn't it all.
That's thinking very deeply.
I think it's...
Brett, the director Chris Cunningham said that sex is the main element of his work. Would you say that sex is the main element to Suede as well?
No, not at all. I think sort of sexuality, but that's not necessarily expressed in terms of, like, you know, just sex. Sexuality can mean have a whole load of different definitions, can't it? Do you know what I mean? Sexuality can be about power and emotion. It doesn't have to be about page 3, do you know what I mean? It's a totally different thing. But sexuality, yes.
Is that still the one thing that consumes you when you're with the lyrics and stuff that you're trying to portray?
But like I say, it's a very broad definition. Like music, you know, pop music is, you know, it's a raw emotion in the same way that sex is, and it comes from the same place, you know.
I quite often get the horn when I'm singing, actually.
Do you?
Yeah.
Go
I
on then,
do.
start
On
singing.
stage?
That's all right. No, more when I'm recording, but it's just, like you said, it's just the emotion kind of comes from the same place.
Yeah.
I don't mean like I
No,
have
I
to
know.
run out in the loo and kind of...
Well, when...
Yeah.
Yeah.
The middle 8, I'm just nipping out.
It's late night.
I'll be back by the
But
chorus.
what do you two?
What, get the horn
Yeah,
when
get
I'm
the horn
singing?
when you sing, when you're on
Stomp
stage.
Big hard on, like.
Yeah. I've heard of certain pop
No,
stars.
no,
No?
You know what?
no. Not like that.
Okay, well, I
No,
won't
don't
name
come
names.
now.
It's not like
it's
that.
like, just
No,
like,
it
but it's
isn't, no.
subtle. It's more just like a,
I get
little
a tingle.
shiver,
I get
like a
I get
tingle.
vibes. I get little
Yeah.
tingles and tickles and that.
Yeah.
Slightly flirtatious, maybe,
Right.
as opposed to, like, you know,
You feel
storming.
sensual, but not sexual.
Maybe
It's a bit
that's,
Right.
yeah,
sensual,
that's
isn't it?
probably, he put it much better.
Björk is often perceived as a very controversial, eccentric kind of character, as she's portrayed in the media. Do you think, you know, once you get that image, it's very difficult to break
I
out
think
of
the
it?
media can be incredibly unfair, but I think in the case of someone like Björk, that she is an amazing artist, and when I listen to her music and when I see her, I kind of feel like I'm going to be listening to her for, if I make it, you know, for the next 40 years or so.
Do you think that it's still harder for women to get in the music industry, or do you think that it's a complete fallacy?
I think there's definitely an element of that, for sure. Just because there's a set of pressures that are, you know, kind of...
Yeah. Do you think...
It's like, you know, if you get up in the morning looking like crap, you know, everyone's going to go, oh, God, that's it, you know, she's looking really
The
crap.
old tart.
Well, guys can kind of get away with it. Kind of, you know,
looking
like
too
sort of
good
a
these
bit,
days,
you know,
You're right, though.
bit
People
of
are
a
like
beer
that. Like,
gut
you know.
and a bit sort of like rocky, and, you know, that's
Well,
the
with the
look.
fellas, see, we can get
But you
as,
boys get away with it
messed
easy,
up
yeah.
as possible, and it's like rock and roll.
Yeah.
You
You
could have made an effort
Looking
tonight,
good
though,
there,
John,
Brett,
really.
looking good there.
Was it tough for you being a mother and looking after your kids and carrying on your career?
I think that by about the end of last year, I kind of felt like I've got to take a bit of time out, and I did.
For
Because
yourself,
I'd been,
or-
for all of us, for me,
Right.
my kids, my
Yeah.
family, because I feel like I've been juggling. And I think women are very good at this sort of thing. You guys are saying, I can do it all,
you have to
because
prove
I
your
want to
point.
do it all, and I want to do it really well. And so you do like 10 things at once quite well. And then I just felt all of a
See, I'm
sudden
the
it's
opposite.
like...
I'm absolutely awful at juggling.
Are
I
you?
can focus on something and I do it, like, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
at the moment, Me like
Because you're a dad as well, and people don't particularly think about, oh, well, he's a father and he has to go out on tour and he'll miss his
yeah,
kids.
it's just a bit more of a schizophrenic lifestyle, you know.
It is
the way,
very
because
schizo.
it's like
It's
one
quite
minute
good.
I'm here, I'm with the band, the entourage, and then I'm home changing nappies.
When you're faced with going out on, say, on tour around America for 3 months and you've got kids at home.
This is how it was when we started, you know, the relationship, and anyway, me and my wife, Belinda, like, you know.
Yeah.
So we knew the school, we know how it is, and this is how I'm going to be, and it's kind of, the baby was born in that environment, so I think we don't know any difference. You know, but I'm wondering whether, I'm sure there will be a time when I'm thinking, like, you know, I mean, I only got upset the other, first, like, I rang up, you know, speaking to my wife, and she goes, you know...
You're not ready with this term yet, are you?
What?
Wife.
No, it's not that. She's my mate as well, like, so I kind of don't like saying wife, because it sounds really kind of choose my wife, so treat her differently to all my mates, which is wrong. Like.
Yeah. Go on, tell us.
Belinda, me missus, my other half, me chick and all that.
Carry on.
Well, anyway, yeah, she just said, like, you know, Hannah at the moment has just started to say, like, you know, where's Dad? She's just got to that age. She's 2 in a week or something. And she's just got to that age where she's kind of like, you know, when the doorbell goes, she's going, Daddy, Daddy, you know, and all this on the telly. Oh, there's Daddy, you know, is he coming in and all this? So I got a bit upset then, like, because I was thinking, God, yeah, I do want to be home, you know. But then again, would I be happy sitting around, like, you know, I'd only be writing songs going, I wish I could get out there and do something, you know. So while you got the energy and the enthusiasm, you juggle the best you can.
Okay, time now to reflect on life's unpredictability. You're walking down the straight road, you hear a song, and you make a sharp turn. Here's US producer, DJ, remixer and hitmaker Armand Van Helden's story.
Song that changed my life.
Brett, what was the sonic catalyst that changed your life?
I don't think it was like any one sort of song, really. The only thing I could say that completely turned my life upside down was probably punk and the Pistols. Probably never mind the Bollocks specifically, which is as soon as I get, you know, like I kind of spent years and years sort of like listening to my dad's classical music and like going, oh, I don't like this, you know what I mean? And kind of like some mates all playing with Sex Pistols, and that was it, you know. It was just something of my own, like we were talking about earlier. It gave you your own identity, and it sort of said something about you at the time, and it, you know, it was what you were, and it gave you this little badge to wear and this little suit of armour to walk through life and say that this is me, you know what I mean? And yeah, Sex Pistols.
Neno, what song shaped your destiny?
I'm sort of feeling a bit like you know, that there's a lot of things.
Read my crib sheet.
That yeah, give it to me.
What was that again?
It so well too.
But, I mean, I think that punk definitely turned me inside out. There were things before that, you know, like songs in the key of life, Stevie Wonder, or, you know, Parliament, or things like that. But when I heard Germ-Free Adolescence, I think X-Ray Specs was a really big inspiration.
I think anyone
her
around,
voice,
anyone around
Polystyrene's voice.
anyone around our age group, it's like you couldn't be
Yeah.
affected. I mean, it did actually completely change. I mean, it turned music upside down. All the values of that music promoted, it just said the opposite. And it said instead of being kind of clever and long and intelligent and wordy and blah 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 blah, you could just talk about negative things, and it could just have as much excitement and exuberance as anything.
Has there been anything?
It said you could do it yourself as well, which is a really important thing.
Okay, hang on, I'll take you one at a time. Yeah, but he'll go on though.
Hasn't done his homework in yet.
Very quickly to the point here. I was just come back to me, like, because it wasn't punk, but I remember, like, 11 specials and all the two-tone movement, you know, getting the head shaved, and just that kind of, all that movement was probably the first thing I really kind of got into. Because I think when you're a kid, you're just running with the crowd. You're trying to find your way, and you're running with the crowd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you want to fit in, but
you kind of need to belong somewhere as well,
when you're young, you know, I kind of missed the punk thing, like, you know, although I've re-looked at it, like, you know.
Okay, take a toilet break now, because in part 2 we're going to be discussing the history of the Verve, twisting tenderly to electronic and getting shocked senseless with an exclusive showing of Ash's highly controversial band video, Numbskull. Hiya, welcome back to the show with me, Jo Viley, and my guests, Brett Anderson, Nena Cherry and Joh Power. So, all farewells should be sudden, but last week the Verve proved otherwise. After continuing speculation surrounding the band's relations last year, they finally called it a day. Arguably the best British band of the decade, but what kind of legacy are they leaving? We'll take a look back at the bittersweet history of the boys from Wigan. Nena, the Verve is seen as being one of the greatest bands of the decade. Where do you stand on that?
I think they were a very great band.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a shame to see them go.
Probably relieved, you know what I mean? There's probably some stuff, shit that's been going on for ages, and they probably just want to get out of it, get on with their careers, you know what I mean? They're probably really happy.
Richard's
And yeah,
probably
it's
doing his
happy
own
when,
thing.
it's bad seeing
Well,
when bands split up and that, and it's
End of an
sad or
era.
whatever, but,
Bring
Well,
on the
why,
future, man.
why do you think they have split up? Is it the pressure of actually all getting on together? Obviously, Nick and Cave.
it just happens, you know. You just grow apart sometimes, and really can't do anything about it.
How did you feel when Bernard Butler left?
Yeah, what I said before, it was pretty sad, you know. I was like looking back at what we'd done, because I thought we'd done some really good stuff, and I really liked it. And it was sad that the partnership broke up, but again, you know, he wasn't happy in the band, and I'm going to keep him. I mean, you can't keep someone against your will.
Yeah.
And I look back on it, and I'm quite glad it happened in a way, because I'm happier, and I think he's a lot happier. And
That vibe
Yeah.
is only
Fine.
spread. You know, once you got something that doesn't want to be there, that's only going to bring the whole ship down.
it's
like.
going to be worse
So
in
go,
the end.
go
you know
where
what I
you
mean?
got to go, do what you got to go, you know, do, be what you want to be, you know, and we'll carry on doing what we're going to do, like, you know, sort of thing. I suppose that's the idea. Like.
Yeah.
Although I wasn't in Suede, so I shouldn't have answered it.
Do you want to join?
Got some ideas.
We haven't got a new member for this album.
Is it important to Suede to keep changing all the time? Has it kind of really benefited you from having
It's just
picking up
something.
the odd member?
No, it isn't something that people must see it as something that we kind of like written into our contract or something. Get a new member each year. But it's not like that. It's out of necessity, and it's quite a natural process. I mean, the whole thing of being in a band is much more of a natural process than a lot of people think. Lots of people think it's a very orchestrated, manipulative thing, and really you're just fumbling through, and things happen. You meet people, you want them to join a band, you fall out with people and they leave and stuff like that, and it really is quite a natural process.
No, the Verve were a very private band, and they rarely gave any
It was a
interviews.
good
And there
band
was this
there,
whole,
like, no doubt about it.
yeah.
I like
But
it.
there was quite a mystique about them. Do you think that added to their appeal rather than kind of just spreading themselves
I
thin?
think that you know, the sort of the overkill syndrome definitely overkills. And I think that when there's a bit of sort of room left for the punter, the person reading about the interviews and buying the records, to kind of look a bit and find out a bit for yourself.
Yeah.
I think the sort of there might be a bit more longevity. Things that are just rammed down your throat on crisp packets and Mars packets, and it's just in your face all day. After a year, you've just OD'd, basically.
Yeah.
I think when you say the Verve were like a secretive band, I think the reason it worked was like it was natural. I don't think it was a kind of put on, like, you know,
No, because then that
away
becomes
from the limelight. I
pretentious,
think
doesn't it?
that's the way they were, like, you know, that's the way, you know, they are. You know, even though they're split up, I'm sure they're going, you know, that's the way Richard's going to be, like, he's not.
It's beautiful.
You know, we've been put under so many different banners and so a group with so many
Which have
different...
been your favourites?
Well, we started off and we were called something with the Verve, Verve and us and a couple of other bands. We were called this New Glam Association. So that was like in 1993, and like it's just the way the music press works. They work, you know, they put groups into packs, and you know, 'cause it's easier for people to understand if everyone's under the same label. So you know, these scenes that happen are just really boring, and they're just one-dimensional.
Metaphors made up by
I mean, you know, I
journalists.
think the most healthy thing about the music scene in 1999 is that I don't think there is any one particular umbrella term that people put over bands. There's just a load of good music from different scenes. You know, there's a load of good dance music, there's a load of good rock music, a load of good pop music as well. And there's not one big scene, you know, and there isn't one silly, one-dimensional category that people will try and categorise it. And you know, this term Britpop was just it was dead before it started, wasn't it?
All right, we'll take some music now. After a 3-year break, Johnny Marr and Bernard Sumner of Electronica back. The new album has just been released, and from Twisted Tenderness, this is Haze. Brilliant video and a brilliant song as well. Directed by Anton Corbijn, as we said. Nena, first of all, the video you like?
Yeah, I think it's very nice. It's got a certain, you know, there's a marriage between the song and the video. It's horrible
good. I
when it
think it's
doesn't
great when
work
a song-
out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
I think when a video makes sense of a song and a song makes sense of the video, you know, all
well, it's like
you don't get that
customizing
every
a car
time.
or something,
You know, you get that every so many videos. You know,
Yeah.
something seems to go
So
right.
exactly.
about it.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes they go hand in hand, and they both propel each other onto a different
Yeah,
plane.
definitely.
And sometimes, you know, it just doesn't work. You can see there's a mismatch. But again, it's a cross-pollination of art forms, which is just part of the scene.
That album, Deserter Songs, is being claimed as the
greatest of all time.
No, of this year.
The
Greatest of
decade.
the late 1990s.
Are they doing anything new with this, or?
Is there anything new?
Difficult to know, isn't it?
No, I don't mean that. I'm just saying what's original. It's just reinterpreted,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
each generation,
It's
like, you know.
difficult
Yeah.
to say. It's how you reinterpret
Breathing.
it. That's yeah. It might have its own originality, but basically everything comes from a point, doesn't it? but I don't know, really.
Is it valid to reinterpret things, though, or is it
I think
just a
that's
bit of a cop-out?
the only thing you've got. That's what generations
No one
do.
is some Superman that can suddenly invent some new form of music. You know what I mean?
Just
That's
do it in a
just
different way.
theoretical.
It's all beats,
you know what I mean?
melody and punctuation.
You look at
done in a
anyone any
different
good, and
spiral,
it's
like,
always
you know.
come somewhere, you know what I mean? Pop music's come from rhythm and blues. I mean, the Beatles, who are the greatest musical innovators of all time, their music started off with rhythm and blues, you know what I mean? It just all comes from somewhere, it's just how you use it.
There's something fresh about it.
Yeah.
But I
There's
think, you
something
know...
really sweeping about that song. I just think it's got a nice touch and a really good, like, kind of dreamy feel, like, you know. Quite Lennon-y, demo Lennon-y type of thing, like, you know.
I think it has a quality. And I think as well, the other thing is like, you know, the fact that they've been around for 9 years, it's like, I mean, I think we've talked about this before, it's probably a bonus in their book, you know? I mean, I know that with a band like R.E.M., for instance, you know, they were around for a long time before
Although
Losing My Religion came out and kind of went mad, and everyone was like, oh, you've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
The whole when basically they were just
grafting.
playing and grafting,
Doing their
and
thing,
doing...
like-
They're using kind of quite interesting sounds as well, as opposed to, you know, glockenspiels and trying to use different instruments.
Well, it's more like a veil, a backdrop. They've
like
got
a
this kind of
soundscape.
real, you know, it's a bit like the set here.
It's quite Neil Young, actually. His voice
Very.
reminds me of Neil Young. Like, it's really nice. It's got a real thin quality to the voice. I like that.
Talking to Neil Young, I always imagined, you know, Shaggy off Scooby-Doo?
Yeah.
When he sung, if he'd ever sung, like, he sounded like Neil Young, so maybe, just imagine it.
Just possibly.
Honestly.
Okay, thank you very much for all of you for doing the show today.
Thanks very much for having
Thank
us.
you, Joe.
Okay, thank you, Brett.
Thanks a lot.
And then, and John.
Splendid, Joe.
Next week, join me with 3D from Massive Attack and Garbage's Shirley Manson. Plus, we'll have live music from Gay Dad. And we'll leave you with this, the highly controversial video from Ash. 22-year-old Tim Wheeler hooked up with a couple of female friends in a New York hotel room and let the proceedings be filmed. Here, for the first time ever, is the result. Hold on to your stomachs. This is numbskull.